Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's RightTraining webinar on a guide to implementing templates. My name is Juliana, and I'm the customer relationship lead here at RightCapital. I'm so glad you could join me today to cover all things templates. Templates are about saving time and simplifying your workflow. They're designed to help you bring more consistency and efficiency to your planning process, while also letting you customize the experience for your unique practice and your clients. Previously, there were 7 types of templates available in RightCapital. Recently, we've rolled out our RightExpress planning type, which also includes a RightExpress template option that we'll explore later on in the webinar as well. So for today, we're going to walk through how to create and apply each type of template, how to tailor them to your style and client experience, and then we'll also cover how other advisors are using them effectively in real-world scenarios. We'll also wrap up with a live Q&A at the end, so as we go along, feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A box below, and I'll get into as many as I can before the hour's up. So we have some great content planned for you today. Let's jump in and start exploring how templates can help make your day-to-day planning smoother and more scalable. Again, templates in RightCapital allow you to predefine workflows and settings that you can apply across templates. So think of them as your digital playbook. They standardize processes, save time, and create consistency. Some of the quick benefits are saving the setup time per client. They create repeatable workflows, and they also help us deliver a more focused client experience. We can create templates in RightCapital within our Templates tab. So locate your Templates tab along the top banner of your advisor portal. Sometimes, depending on the add-ons that you might have with RightCapital, the Templates tab may also be found in this More menu, so our 3 dots along the top. So just note where your Templates tab is located. Most commonly, it's along the top banner, but it might be in that More menu. Wherever it is, the functionality is the same. You'll then see here we have our 7 plus our Express templates, so 8 total now with RightCapital. And we're going to start with report templates today. So starting with our report templates, they allow advisors to pre-build custom layouts for downloadable PDF reports, saving time again and ensuring consistency across all client plans. So with report templates, they're used to predefine which modules and visuals appear in a client report. They also help standardize deliverables across clients or planning types, and they can be useful for client meetings or onboarding summaries or even annual reviews. To create a report template within RightCapital, we're going to do it again in our Templates tab along the top, Report, and then we'll click New Template. With New Template, we're then going to be able to title a template name. In this case, I'll just call it title. I have some examples built out for you guys. And then we can go through and look at all the different modules within the system. From here, we can select the different items that we might want to include within a client deliverable. And once all of the modules are selected that we want to include, we can go ahead and hit save. This is then going to include this template as an option for generating client reports when we're within a client plan. And I'll show you how to apply and utilize the templates in just a moment. But before we do that, I do want to touch on some common use cases that we have for templates that other advisors are utilizing. If we click on our drop down here, we can see I have 3 built out for us. The first one is most commonly for retiree age clients. So maybe clients who are a little bit older, planning for the end of their career or post-career. Most commonly, I'll see advisors utilize templates that include our dashboard snapshot, our balance sheet to give the clients an idea of where their plan is at and what assets and liabilities they might have at that moment. And then we also want to take a look at maybe their asset and their tax allocation. So their asset allocation to see how their accounts are allocated. Do we need to revisit our conversation on how our accounts are allocated and even our tax allocation? So what percentage of our assets are spread out between the different tax buckets? We can also take a look at maybe Social Security as the clients are getting closer to file, as well as some cash flows information just to show their inflows and their outflows, as well as any account contributions. And then we might also be navigating conversations around tax strategy, so Roth conversions. Additionally, as well as estate planning. So maybe we're getting a little bit older and planning towards later on passing some assets onto our heirs. We can really take a look at estate planning, and then blueprint, which just gives us a nice visual of all the initial client data entry. So if we need to highlight anything that needs to be changed, the blueprint is a great page to include as well. And that's for retiree clients. Again, all of these are fully customizable, so don't hesitate to create your own and get creative of what type of planning that you utilize with your clients. But then on top of retirees, I also have a tax evaluation report template built out here. And this is good for isolating the tax scenarios. So maybe if we're doing a lot of work and taking a look at tax benefits, Roth conversions, or other tax strategies, like looking at our withdrawal sequence. I do always like to see advisors include a snapshot and a balance sheet again, just to show the clients where they're at right now, a nice intro to the report, should I say. And then we also have our tax information, so our tax estimate, tax strategies, and then tax analyzer is also a good one to check off. I'm going to check this one off here. And then one thing I'll pause on while we're generating these report templates, you'll notice some of these items are underlined. Any of the items that are underlined, we can click into and get some additional information. So we have some additional customization within the modules. If we maybe only want to include a part of the module or the entire module, we have full control over what gets included in our report. So we can really cut down some pages if we notice our report's a little bit long. But I did want to point out that anything that's underlined, you can click on, and it does give us some additional options. And then the blueprint, of course, a nice visual of that data entry. And we want to make sure to hit save anytime we make a change, so those changes are applied. And then another common use case is something like an initial planning summary. So maybe this is a very basic prospecting client that did the initial data entry, and we're trying to get a plan set up in place, or maybe a meeting set up with them to become a full client. And in this case, we'll include some basic information. Again, the snapshot and the balance sheet is a common theme, but they're great items to include in a deliverable, as well as maybe that prospect's asset allocation. If we've gotten their investment information, we can have a conversation around that. And then you'll notice analysis and cash flows under our retirement section are slightly underlined. It's not a full blue check mark, and that means we've clicked into it and only selected partial items here. So I wanted to give you an example that we can, in fact, only include partial tabs within the module, so that way we're not bombarding the client with information. Same thing with cash flows. I have the maps waterfall included in here, which is very helpful. And then our blueprint tab, which again summarizes that data entry for the client. So some three great options here that are most commonly utilized by a lot of advisors. And then if we were to go and apply this template to a client plan, I'm going to go ahead and click on our clients tab, and I'm going to open up a client for us to utilize. I'll open up Shrek. And then we'll go to our gear icon, reports, and then you'll notice here at the very top, we have our ability to select a template. We can select maybe the initial planning summary, and those boxes will highlight according to what we've selected. We can then go to the bottom, download the selected pages, and that'll download those items as a PDF to your computer. One more thing I want to touch on with report templates as well, once that's done downloading. If you're building a template, say you're not using a template and you're building one out in RightCapital that you really like, and you realize like, oh, I might utilize this template with other clients, but I don't want to go out and rebuild it in the templates tab. What if I don't remember what I checked off? Within a client plan, we do have the ability to save existing selections as a template. So on the bottom corner here, if you click on Save as a Template, we can utilize this option here to save this selection that we just created as a template. And now we have it as an option in the dropdown. And then if we go to another client plan, we will see this as an option that's selectable. So there is two places within RightCapital that we could create those report templates. And the first is going to be in that templates tab in the advisor portal, but then we can also do it within this save as template feature in a specific client plan if we decide to utilize that way. Alrighty, I'll just back out to our advisor portal now and I'll go back to templates, and that's report templates. Of course, drop any questions you might have in that Q&A and we'll touch on them at the end. And then next we have our planning access template. So planning access allows us to control what modules the clients can view when they log into their RightCapital portal. So when we invite clients to a portal, there are times when we might not want to give them access to every single module within the system. It can be maybe overwhelming or irrelevant modules that they'll never look at, and we really want to help clean up and streamline their view so it's easiest for them to navigate the system as we're having these conversations about their financial future. So if we were looking at a client by client basis, I'll just touch on how to adjust planning access for a client. Within the clients tab along the top, we can select a client and then we see our planning access tab here. The item selected in our planning access tab is what the client will have visibility to within the system. So right now we have a template selected for millennial clients, and I will go over that in a moment, but I just want to show you if we were to open the plan in client access mode, we will see that template showing up here. So we have a very limited view of a plan that includes certain modules for the client so that way they can view specific items within the system. So it really helps us cater to a specific client view without overwhelming the client. And applying that template is done in our planning access tab, select template box here. We can go through the different options and we'll make sure to hit save so that way that template is fully applied. And let me back up here and show you how to even create those templates. I got a little ahead of myself, but we'll go ahead and find our templates tab along the top of the advisor portal, planning access, and then we can click on new template. Very similar to report templates, we'll go through and select the modules that we want to see within a client plan. We can go ahead and hit save. Oh, and we should adjust the title as well. Make sure to hit the checkbox. And now we have different options for our planning access templates as well. Millennial clients is the template I was looking at when we were in our clients tab briefly, and I just want to go over, this is a very common planning access template for younger clients who are maybe looking at catering to their budget, making sure their expenses are accounted for appropriately, and then managing any debt or debt payments they might have. So we have our snapshot, balance sheet, a budget view. So for linking client accounts, they will be able to see their budget and planning out what they spend every month, as well as asset allocation, which can be helpful to see, what is the projected growth on those accounts as we are getting older. And then at the bottom here, I also included debt and student loans. I know a lot of the younger clients have student loan debt or other debt that they are managing, so it would be good to have those included in that client view as well. And then we also have something like prospect access. So if we are maybe just meeting a new prospect and we want to give them a basic access to the system so they're not overwhelmed, we can also include some modules within here, snapshot, balance sheet, as well as blueprint information, just so that way they can see the data entry they completed. And then we'll also give them access to the vault. So if we're doing any initial document gathering for our prospect, they can upload that when they have access to the system as well. And then lastly, we have something like post-retiree access. So we can take a look at our older clients, maybe the snapshot, which is again, a nice one-page visual of where the plan is at, their risk tolerance. So if we have a risk questionnaire within the system, we can take a look at if their risk tolerance is changing as they get a little bit older. Maybe we need to revisit their asset allocation. We also have retirement analysis. We can include probability and confidence just to show them the strength of their plan. And then maybe we're navigating insurance conversations, tax strategies, things like Roth conversions, as well as estate planning for passing on wealth to the heirs. And then we'll also include access to the vault. So some good information here as well to apply to older clients. And then, of course, when it comes to applying the templates, we have the ability not only to apply it in the planning access tab under a specific client, Or if we wanted to apply it from this screen, we can utilize this apply template feature here. And if we click the drop down, we have the ability to apply a specific template to all clients, specific client groups, or specific clients within the system. So if we only want to pick and choose one or two clients to apply this to, we can select those here or delete them if maybe we don't want to apply those to those clients. So a lot of flexibility on which clients we can apply these templates to right from our templates tab. Alrighty. Moving on to our onboarding templates here now. Our onboarding templates allow us to streamline the client data gathering process, excuse me. So we can define which areas clients are asked to complete. When we first invite clients to RightCapital, they are given our initial 6-step data entry. I'll go ahead and open up a client that's in that onboarding phase. You can see what that looks like. I'll go ahead and open up this Indiana Jones plan. And we can see here that Indiana Jones is in our initial data entry. Let me back up for a moment here. I want to touch on something with our onboarding that's a little bit unique from the other tabs. In that onboarding allows us to have a template type, and I'll go back, you know what, I'll go back to templates just to show you this. So backing up here just a moment, with our onboarding templates, we have two different options. We have template types as profile cards or as a blueprint view. Depending on the tab that we're selecting, we're going to see a slightly different view. So most commonly is our profile cards, which is our 6-step profile cards, but then we also have a blueprint view, which groups together our income, savings, and expenses, and the net worth and goals are separate. We do have some pre-built templates out here that I wanted to show you for onboarding that utilize both our blueprint view and our profile cards view. And then I'll give you a visual of what both of those look like when we go into the client plan. I think that's going to be the best order of presentation here. Starting with onboarding tab. And again, if we were to create one, you would click new template. We can title the template. And then depending on which of the items we select, we can decide whether or not we want the client to, should save that. There we go. And then depending on which item we have selected here, it will determine which one the client can see and adjust within the portal when they log in. We'll go ahead and hit save. And then looking at the different ones we have created here, we have something like a simple onboarding, which is common for just having clients maybe link their accounts via client aggregation, as well as access to the vault. So for any initial document gathering for that client before our initial meeting as advisors, we can have all of that information ready for us there. We also have something, this utilizes our blueprint view of our template type. And again, I'll show you what that looks like, but this just gives us a nice full view of the plan as well as access to the vault. And then maybe if we want to focus just on investment and risk, we can set up a template for onboarding that only gets the client maybe linking their accounts within the net worth, as well as completing a risk questionnaire if that's mandatory by your firm. And then, of course, access to the vault for any document gathering. So we have a lot of options for different configurations of onboarding. We can also take a look at maybe income and net worth if we only want the client to complete a partial amount. And then maybe when we get them in the office to have a full planning meeting, we can go through and complete the other items together. So totally up to you how flexible and rigid you want these onboarding templates to look like. But let me go back to the clients tab and show you all how to apply these templates and then what they look like, because we do have some variation between profile cards and blueprint. So I'm going to click back on our clients tab here, and I'm going to go back to that onboarding client, and I'm going to find this onboarding tab here along the top. This is going to allow us to not only select if we're not using a template, or we can select a template that we have already created. So for example, I'm going to show you the initial 6-step data entry with our simple onboarding. And this is going to include just our net worth and our vault. And I'll go ahead and hit save. We always want to hit save to make sure that saves. And then I'll open the client up. We can see here, this is our limited view. So instead of 6 steps, it's 3. We have family, net worth, and the vault. And then if I back out to our advisor portal, I will also show you in our onboarding template, we're going to click on our blueprint view and the vault, and this is going to give us a slightly more visual view when we're looking at the client. So opening the client up, it's going to look very similar. This family tab will look very similar to our profile cards option, but then when we click on net worth, we'll see it looks very much like the blueprint under profile net worth. And then from here, clients can add their assets and liabilities. They can also link client accounts. They can adjust their goals using the add button here. And then they can enter income, savings, and expenses as well. So very similar functionality throughout the 2 different types. However, it's just a visual change here, depending on maybe what you or your clients would prefer in terms of data entry. So again, this is the initial data entry when we first open up a client plan. And if we were to invite the client to do it themselves, we can really cater to what items they can see and edit with our onboarding templates. Alrighty, moving on, we'll go to our templates tab again, and then we're going to touch on our snapshot templates. Our snapshot is the first page within a client plan if we're using the default configuration from RightCapital. And you know what? Let me open up a client plan so I can show you where that is. I'm going to open up a full plan. In this case, I'll open up Shrek. And then we can see the very first page we land on is our dashboard snapshot. Our snapshot is where we pull in metrics from all over the plan onto one page using these little widgets here that give us a nice idea or a snapshot of what exactly is going on in the client plan. So a great landing page for clients to get a quick view of exactly what their plan looks like and maybe what their financial success looks like. So I'll go back to our templates tab, and then we can see here we have snapshot templates, which allow us to fully configure the layout and the widgets shown in that dashboard snapshot page. We can go ahead and click new template to create a new template. And then from here, we can title it a new title, and then we can add or remove items depending on what we want the clients to be able to see when they access their snapshot page. We can either click add item and add additional items within the software, and we have quite a few different metrics to add in here. So depending on what type of snapshot page we want to cater to or what type of client we want to cater to, we have a lot of different options here, including text boxes and images, so we can get really creative on how things look. And then of course, if there's anything in the snapshot that we don't want to include, if we just hover our cursor over the widget, there's going to be an X that pops up and we can delete the item from the screen. Now, if we do delete the item, we can always add it back. So in this case, I'll delete our probability of success, and then we can add it back into the plan. Oh, I guess I can touch on here while we're building out our modules. We have 2 different metrics for probability of success. One is a small one under key metrics, and then under I am looking for it. If I remove this one, under our retirement, we also have a large probability of success. There it is. So we can have one or the other. So if you're ever going through and making these snapshots, if your probability of success looks a little small, make sure to utilize the one under retirement to get a bigger view. I've had that question before, so I just wanted to highlight that. We have 2 different sizes for one of our most common widgets. Now, looking at some common configurations for the snapshot page, I've built out a few here that I've seen other advisors use that are quite common. And the first one is going to be a welcome view. So this is for maybe a standard client snapshot that we can apply to most of the clients within the plan. If they're all sort of, standard planning type, we can include something like a notes feature, which notes can be used for a lot of things, but I have included some common ones here. We can have a nice welcome message. We can also have an agenda here for maybe meeting with the client. We can also add any notes that we might have or things that need to be completed. So if I need to remember or the client needs to remember to adjust some net worth information, we can throw that in here too. We do have tasks in RightCapital, so we can utilize that feature with tasks, but I have seen advisors throw it in the notes as well. So I just wanted to point that out to give you all an idea of how these items are being used by other users of the software. And then of course we have that large probability of success widget again here. We have our asset simulation results. So that's our Monte Carlo calculation, a visual representation. And then we can also see items like our savings and withdrawal rate, our historical net worth, some risk information, as well as our tax rate. And then we can also see our risk summary, which gives us a nice visual of our household risk. So what is our tolerance as a client? And then what maybe the target portfolio is and where the current portfolio is at. So a good visual of if we're aligned with the investment philosophy that we're most comfortable with as clients. And then scrolling back up to the top here, I'll show you the other one we have, which is our budgeting snapshot template. So if you have a client that's really focused on their budget and making sure that their monthly expenses are accounted for, kind of like our millennial planning access where we have that debt included in there, we can take a look at our budgeting, which includes our expenses for the last couple of months, as well as a balance sheet that includes current assets and liabilities. We can also track historical net worth here, as well as the current monthly budget. We can see what percentage of that is spent, as well as if we have any remaining dollars for our budget for that month. We can also see our current allocation, which gives us an idea of what the growth on the projected accounts will be. And then we have our small probability of success widget and our savings rate, as well as some notes. Alrighty, and then lastly here, we also have a plan strength view. And this is a nice one that allows us to really highlight the strength of our plan that we've built out. So for example, we have not only our probability of success large and in display, so we can see how our plan is performing. We can also see our net worth as well as the tax rate. Current assets, asset simulation results, and then we can also see a tax allocation. So what tax buckets are our assets spread between, as well as our stress test, which shows us if we were to put a stressor on the plan, how does that affect our probability of success and can we recover the plan from it? So it really highlights any strengths and weaknesses that the plan might have, just to really help us facilitate a conversation around getting a nice, strong plan set up for our clients. And then when it comes to applying any of these templates, we're going to utilize this apply template feature at the very bottom. And if we click on our drop down here, very familiar to the other template where we can either apply it to all clients at a time, specific groups, or specific clients individually. Moving right along here, we also have our task templates. And task templates are perfect for streamlining follow-ups and assigning consistent action items to clients. They allow you to assign predefined to-dos, or if you're onboarding new clients, we can also use task templates to build structured checklists that can be reused over and over again. So a lot of flexibility here on what can be done. To create a task template, we're going to use the new template button. I'm sure you're getting the hang of it by now. And then we can, of course, title our template, and then we can click our add task button to add tasks to the template. We have a due date, and then we can add an additional number of days to the task if we want to extend it past the initial due date. We can also specify who we want to assign this to. So we can assign tasks to other advisors and assistants or specifically to the client themselves. We can set a priority. And then we can also hide whether or not this is visible to the client. So if it's something that maybe we're assigning to the assistant, we don't need the client to see that in all cases, and we can hide that from the client. And then we can also adjust the task here. So a common task would be having the client uploading their tax documents to the vault. And we can go ahead and hit save. And then I'll just add a priority to this to show you what that looks like as well. A couple of very common use cases for our task templates can be something like a new client checklist. So when you're getting a new client in, we need them to update some net worth information. Maybe we need to have them upload some of their tax documents. We also might want them to email us some available times that they have for an initial meeting. And then maybe we need them to contact their Social Security Administration to get their Social Security statement. And then additionally, they might need to complete a risk questionnaire. So some options here for a new client, and we can assign this to a client to have them complete this information for us as we get prepared for our first meeting with them. On top of this, we also have something like a document collection flow. So it can really help us organize, what documents do we need from our clients to ensure we can have a full planning set up for them. That's going to include things like tax documents. I've said that a couple of times now, as well as maybe investment account statements for the current year, any trust documents that they might have, maybe beneficiary information if we're looking at estate planning. I also have wills down here at the bottom too. And then any bank statements additionally. So we can really highlight what sort of things we need from the client as well using these tasks. And then lastly, I have here something called advisor action. So like I said, we can assign tasks to other advisors or assistants if we're sharing plans with other team members. And this gives us the option to let the team members know if there's anything that we need to do to prepare for this plan. Maybe we're having a client meeting coming up and we can ensure that maybe we're having a conversation about taxes and we want to make sure that that strategy is completed so we can present it, as well as maybe a slide deck for the meeting using screenshots or metrics that we've gotten from the RightCapital projections. We also want to ensure the plan is up to date, and that's a very high priority item for a client meeting. And then we can also just make sure that we're touching base with the client to ensure we have that vault information so that way all of our data entry looks good in the system. So a lot of options for tasks as well. And to apply tasks, we're going to do that from within a client plan. So unlike the snapshot where we can apply the task templates from this templates tab, we have to apply task templates from within a client plan. So we'll go to the clients tab again, and I'll open up a client plan. We'll go to our tasks tab. And in this case, we're going to click add task. We can either add a single task, which is the default option, and then we have our task template. So if we wanted to include a new client checklist, we can adjust the due date for when that's due, and maybe we'll give them a little bit of time and we can hit save. And the nice thing about the template here is you'll notice that I had some additional tasks up at the top already in the plan. So if we apply a template, it will not currently override the information that's already in the tasks. So you won't lose any information. Say you're going through and you have some pre-planned tasks, but then you also have a template that you want to apply. You won't lose any of the tasks that are already included in the tasks tab. You'll just see the new ones populate at the bottom here, and you'll see for the new client checklist, we have the information here: ensure contact Social Security Administration, complete risk questionnaire, email available times, update net worth, and upload tax documents. So great functionality within our tasks templates as well. Alrighty. And then let's move back over to our templates tab. Moving right along here, we've got a couple left, is our vault template. So vault templates are letting us essentially define folder structures inside a client's document vault. So we can ensure consistency across all client vaults and make it easy for us and the clients to organize important documents. We can preset the folders, which again helps us avoid messy or inconsistent vaults, so we're not losing any important documents within the vault possibilities for items we could update in there. And then it can also help clients understand where to upload and find any documents that they might need to re-access or something like that. So to create a vault template, new template button, right, as we have been utilizing throughout all of the templates, and then we can click add folder. Here we can add the folder, and this allows us to start building in that structure. So we can ask for tax documents in here. We can add another folder asking for legal information. Oops, not delete, save. Of course, if we don't want a folder, we could always delete it by hovering over that X. But I'll show you some common use cases for the vault templates as well. And the first one is going to be something like business clients. If we have clients who run their own business, they're going to have some additional paperwork that standard clients might not have. And we can include folders, items like business financials, operating agreements, and payroll information. And then maybe we have just a standard client vault that we want to apply to all clients so we can have organized information for every single client that we're working with. And that's going to be something maybe like tax documents, investment account statements, or any legal documents. And of course, I don't believe there's a limit to how many folders we can include, so you can really get granular on what specific information you're looking for from your client. And then lastly, if we're doing something like estate planning with clients, tax documents is always a big one, and then maybe wills, trust document information, or any beneficiary information. So a lot of different items we could apply within the different templates. And then in terms of applying the template here, we can do it right from this screen in the templates tab with our familiar dropdown of adding this to all clients, client groups, or specific clients at a time. And I want to preface something about the vault template as well, similar to the task template. If we have existing features or existing files, I should say, within a client's vault, applying the template to the vault will not override or remove any existing documents in the vault. So if we have folders in there and then we apply a template, we'll just see the template applied on top of the other files. So we won't lose any information within the vault template. Moving on to categories here. These are budget category templates. So they can help us customize how income and expenses are grouped. You can rename, rearrange, or group categories to match your firm's terminology. To create a new template, we can utilize this new template button. And then from here, we can rename the template as well as adjust the expense categories in the system. So if you click on one, it opens up a text box for you to adjust the name, click the check to save. And then if you don't want a specific item in here, we can click on it as well and then delete it by hovering over the X. Additionally, we can add brand new categories, either expense, income, or other categories. So we have flexibility on adjusting and adding new items. And then just to show you some common use cases of our templates, we do have the select template feature here where we can maybe look at business clients again. So maybe our business clients have a large expenses for materials, contractor expenses, business vehicles, office supplies. So I've gone in and added these different topics here, or categories, I should say, here for our business clients. And then we also have a young family. So for example, maybe with young children who are going back to school, we have maybe a back to school shopping category. Family vacations are a big one, or even if they're very young children, something like childcare or college funds if they're getting a little bit older. So some flexibility depending on, what different things the clients are spending their money on most often. And then lastly, we have a retiree setup, which can include anything like grandchildren's gifts. Maybe they spend a lot of time with the grandbabies and they spoil them a lot. So we have grandchild's gifts in here as a common expense. And then maybe something like travel and vacation. They're retired, they have a lot of free time, as well as new hobbies, which can be included in here as well. So a lot of different options. And customization for expense categories. If your firm has specific expense categories that you use, you can create a template here and apply that to all clients. When it comes to applying the templates, we're going to actually do that from within a client plan as well. So I'm going to go back to our clients tab and I'm going to open up the Shrek plan again. And then to apply this template, we're going to go to our settings. So gear icon in the upper corner and then settings. And then we're going to find budget categories. If we scroll to the bottom here, we can see apply template. And then from here, we can select the template type. Go ahead and adjust young family. And then we also have some transaction mapping that we can adjust here. So if we wanted to rename the previous category, we can make the selection here. However, this isn't a very common option. Usually we just create the template in the templates tab and then apply the template here. We'll hit save. This will remap existing categories. So we want to make sure that this is something we want to do. And then we can see here, this was a young family. So our family vacations options is showing up, college funds, back to school shopping. And there's 2 places within the plan that budget categories will affect. The first is going to be in our profile tab under our expenses. So our pre and post retirement living expenses. If I click into this card, we have the option here to utilize the simple approach or a detailed worksheet. The detailed worksheet will then pull in all those budget categories so we can really specify what the clients are spending monthly on these different categories. So this is in our pre-retirement living expenses under profile expenses. It's also under our profile goals tab under our retirement expenses with our detailed worksheet again. And then lastly, it's going to affect our budget module as well. So dashboard along the top, budget, and then when our clients link accounts via account aggregation, we can see those transactions flowing through. And our budget tab on the right here includes our different budget categories that we've added so that way when we're building out the client budget, we have all of the relevant categories here for us automatically. Wonderful. All right. And I believe we have one more template to cover. I'll go back to our templates tab in the advisor portal. And this is our express templates. This is a new feature that was included in the RightExpress update that was released not too long ago. We did have a webinar showcasing all of the details of RightExpress, and that recording can be found in the Help Center. So if you have additional questions on the RightExpress functionality, I'll show you how to access our Help Center at the end, and I'll show you where to find that webinar recording. So that way you could refresh your mind or learn a little bit more about our express planning feature. But essentially, the templates for the express plan layout give us a quick and easy visibility for the clients on what they'll be able to access utilizing Express. To create the Express template, again, I'm sure you understand the method here. We have our new template feature, new Express template. We can adjust the title, and then we can adjust the features that we want the client to have access to. So we can give them maybe full access, express, if we want to give them everything. But then I've also built out, if we wanted to do maybe a risk assessment, we can look at their risk, which includes a risk questionnaire, as well as any vault if they need to upload any documents. So we have a very simple express planning feature. We also have something like a basic template, which is just Social Security and retirement, very common conversations when it comes to financial planning. So I have a basic template here, which also includes access to the vault. And then something like a young client where maybe we want to really take a look at their debt as well as their risk. And then we can assign them tasks to make sure that they're completing things if necessary. So some great options here. I'll go ahead and hit save just to make sure we have these options saved. And I will go back to our clients tab and I'll open up my Express client here. To apply the Express Access template, we have to click on Express Access in the corner here, and we're going to select a template. In this case, I'll select our risk assessment and hit save. And then I'm going to open the plan, and we'll see here our very simple risk, and the vault is all we've given them access to. So this is all the client will see. I'm going to back up and apply a separate one just so you can see another example, since this is a newer feature. Let's take a look at our basic template. This is going to include Social Security, retirement, and the vault. I'll hit save, and then we'll go ahead and open this client as well. And then here we are, Social Security, retirement, and the vault. So it really allows us to cater exactly what we want the client to see in the Express view as well. All right, so we've gone through and covered the 8 different template types in RightCapital. There's just one more thing before we wrap up that I want to touch on that's very important when working with templates. And that is setting your default templates for new clients. So we do have the ability to create our own templates, and then we can also set the templates as default. So any new client you create going forward will automatically use the templates without you needing to manually apply them each time, right? We've gone through and we've looked at our apply template feature, and we can apply it all manually. However, if we navigate to our More menu along the top of our advisor portal and then Client Settings, we'll want to find where it says Client Groups along the top here. And then this will give us all of our different client groups. And as the advisor, you do have the ability to create additional client groups. I'll look at existing clients, for example. These are clients that we have in the software that we are going to create moving forward. So when we're in the Clients tab and we click Add a new client, by default, they'll be existing. And then we have our default templates column here. I'll go ahead and click Edit. And then from here, we have the ability to adjust the default template that the clients will be using within RightCapital. So for example, we have an onboarding template. So that initial 6-step data entry, we can adjust what type of onboarding template they'll utilize. We also can adjust the default snapshot view. So if we want to give them that budgeting snapshot by default, every client that we create is going to get that. Same thing for the vault. So if we wanted to maybe give them estate planning, categories, and I think I skipped planning excess at the top here. So it's total flexibility on those default clients. And I want to preface that this is only going to be for clients that we create moving forward. Existing clients that are already in the system, that are already in our clients tab, will not be affected by these changes. It's only going to be new clients moving forward. If we need to adjust templates for existing clients, we do have to do that manually at this point. And then of course, we can do this for each client group in the system. So if you have multiple client groups and you have different snapshot templates or other templates that you want to apply to each client, we do have the ability to create those defaults there. Alrighty, so that just about covers the important aspects of our templates in RightCapital. We have the initial template creation as well as client groups and how to apply those default templates to all clients moving forward as a default when we create the client. So some really strong functionality for streamlining the view as well as the functionality of RightCapital for your different client groups.